This is the last place you would expect me to see. And that might surprise you because you see me standing right over there, but let me tell you, 3 feet make a big difference. Especially when you're the one who has to be generating the comments and the commentary, and you can't just be interpreting for somebody else, which is where I am way more comfortable. So when Andrew contacted me and sent me an email and asked me if I'd be willing to speak on behalf of Anne, I deleted it immediately. There's no way on earth I'm doing this, absolutely not. So I deleted it, and then I spent the whole day feeling a little guilty because, come on, you at least owe him a no thank you, right? But then as the day went on, I couldn't help but thinking that I have to say something. As difficult and as challenging as this is for me, there's no single person who's had an impact on my life like Anne. Wow. So I have a lot of specific stories and experiences, but I know all of you have very similar stories and experiences of how this woman has impacted you. It's just been incredible. So, right. First time I met Anne was at one of the early women's retreat, and back then, I just came to Bethany to interpret. I did not attend, I was not a member, I had nothing to do with this place, I was just the interpreter. So, a little background about me, I didn't grow up in a Christian family, and that's putting it lightly. We were not permitted to have anything to do with the church or those church people. So it was just off limits for me. So I was at this women's retreat, and I'm interpreting, and Anne is telling these stories from the Bible as if she was the character of whatever story it was. And again, I didn't know the Bible back then, so I had no idea what she was talking about, or the people who were involved in these stories, but just her telling of these stories was so moving to me. And I can remember afterwards sending her a note and saying it was just so incredible to interpret for her. Because as interpreters, we're trained to sort of become the person who's speaking. So their beliefs and their values and every nuance about them and everything is who you're supposed to convey to the person who's receiving that information. And so, like, I didn't own any of that, but to be able to sort of try that on and just be Anne, and it was a realization that, oh my gosh, this stuff is real. Like, somebody really believes this is true, and to be able to feel that and experience it was just amazing. And so, after the retreat, I ran out and I bought a Bible and I went to the bookstore and, you know, I'm looking around and I thought I got this great deal. So I rush home and I tell Greg, you know, Mr. Finance spreadsheet boy, I'm like, I got like one of those BOGOs, like, right, buy one, get one free. Like, I got the original and the sequel in one book, like Old Testament, New Testament, because I never owned a Bible. So I was like, this is awesome. Like, one book. I didn't have to buy 2. I'm like so impressed, right? So then he bursts my bubble and tells me, no, that's where they all come, like all in one. But I'm looking at this Bible and I'm reading it, and I'm just so frustrated, and I'm having such a hard time. None of it makes sense. I didn't buy a thing in it. I had so many questions and so many struggles through it all, and so Anne sits down with me, and together we spend hours, weeks, months, years, she and I together going over every single question, every single thing that I just couldn't buy, couldn't believe on my own. And it was just, there's no other way I think I would have ever gotten to where I am if it weren't for Anne. So in this process, she ends up giving me a gift. I don't know if you remember this, but she gives me this ring. And, you know, it's significant, and I can tell you how significant it is because it's been, what, 10 years now. And this ring has survived every purse purge that I've ever had in 10 years because I carry it in my purse. And for those of you who may not exchange your purses as much as I do, whenever you get a new purse, you sort of go through the old one and you route through everything you have, and like, where'd this come from, and who put this in there, and this is not mine. And it's survived every single purge. And I don't even have a picture of my boys, Greg and Ellen. However, the ring has survived. So, what does this say, right? I have to get you the inscription because I can't even read it anymore. But what it says is, the big word on the front is courage. And it says, never, 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 never give up. His power is the power to do anything. It's always in you. And then it says Corinthians. So I looked this up, and I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe 1 Corinthians 16, 13 through 14. And it says, be on guard, stand firm in your faith, be courageous, be strong, do everything in love. And that's Anne. That is so who she is. She's been a source of encouragement, a source of never giving up, and a source of courage for me through all those years. So I just have some examples that I want to share with you of how this has happened. Anyone who knows me knows that I cannot cook. And my poor family, we get by as best we can. Greg does some cooking. Poor Elliot, out of necessity, has also had to learn to do the same. And we've somehow survived, but we do a lot of ordering out. It used to be that anytime the doorbell rang when Elliot was little, he'd run to the door day or night, whatever time, and shout, dinner. So I think it's still like Pavlov's dog, when the doorbell rings, he probably still salivates. So this is okay for us and our family, but when somebody had a baby or got out of the hospital and you want to take them a meal, I got nothing but maybe a bucket of KFC and some Pop-Tarts, and maybe that's okay for us, and okay, there's the occasional Rice Krispie treat, but that's another story. Even that has been a disaster. I cannot cook. But never, never give up Anne says, no, we're going to make this happen. So her chicken and cheese casserole recipe, as simple as it is, utter failure on my part to try and cook it on my own. So she sets up a test kitchen and has exact ingredients for her and myself so that together we can put together a casserole, all of 5 ingredients. Nonetheless, it was a success after this process of, so step by step by step, we go through the process of making this casserole, and it's awesome. The only thing is that we've kind of had to an agreement, so if anybody in the church needs a meal, and you've gotten one from me, thank Anne. And secondly, we've had an agreement that if anybody needs a meal, and she and I are both on the meal chain, I call dibs on the chicken and cheese casserole, because that's all I got. That's all I got. So it's not just been that, but there's also been times that have been a little more challenging, like the time that I had a heart attack 2 years ago. And we're in the hospital, and we have no idea what's going on, and it's early in the morning. We're still in the emergency room, and we're not there more than, 20 minutes, and in walk Kevin and Anne. And I know many of you probably have had the same experience where they're just there. They're there, and they're present, and they're giving you courage and support and a little bit of laughter now and then, and helping out in any way that they can. So unfortunately for me, when this happens, when I have my heart attack, I face planted. And so my face was a disaster. And I had this huge gash right between my nose and my lip that, because of all the, blood thinners and stuff they give you and shots, it would not stop bleeding. And Anne was there, and she'd be like, oh, you gotta, so I'd wipe it off. And 2 seconds later, there it is again. She's like, you got it. So we asked the hospital nurse, are there any Band-Aids? And they bring one the size of my right arm. Not gonna fit on my little spot here. We can't do anything. And it's so annoying, but never give up. Anne goes to the nurse's station. She comes back with this big wad of Band-Aids the size of my arm and a pair of scissors. And she sits by my bed for hours cutting Band-Aids the size of my lip. So I have something to hold off all of this disgustingness that's coming out my face. Who does that? I mean, just never, never, never giving up. And not just that was she there for us, but she was also there for Elliot, because poor kid, he's at home, has no idea what's going on, so stressed out. I can't be there as a mom for him, and neither can Greg. And only person he wants there with him during this stressful time is Miss Anne, as she has been there for him so many times in the past. It could have something to do with her meals and her cooking. He may have suggested, maybe, Mom, you should spend a little longer in the hospital because a couple more meals from Miss Ann's not a bad idea. But nonetheless, she's been there to be a mom for him when I couldn't be. And I don't know, moms out there, you know how significant that is and how important that is, just to give that peace. Once again, she's there, not giving up, always there. And it doesn't end there. I mean, there have been the snorkeling lessons in the swimming pool. There's been the walks when I totaled my car, not once but twice. There's been the flowers dropped off at my home for birthdays, for times when I was struggling. She's just always been there, a source of courage and support. And it's not just in those tangible ways, but it's just the way she is, raw and vulnerable and putting herself out there, talking about her struggles and her stressors, and just being so true to who she is. And that takes courage, and it gives me courage, and I'm sure many of you, to do the same and give it right back to her. So back to the ring, right? The ring talks about courage and love, and I really know that by her standing firm in her faith and being courageous and being strong and doing all that she's done in love, it's given me, and I'm sure many of you, the courage to do the same thing. And you are just awesome. And I'm going to ask you to please come up here, because speaking of gifts, right on cue,